All right, my last attempt failed, so I'm going to redo this whole thing here, and hopefully this one will get through to you. I'm going to go over the genetics problem-solving booklet here. If you haven't done this yet, obviously don't watch this until you've attempted the problems. I'll give a really brief explanation. The longer this video goes, the longer it takes for me to upload with my sad Wi-Fi. So I'm going to try to go quickly, but then if you have any problem that sticks out to you as still not making sense, let me know, and then I can give you some personal help with it and not focus so much on the entire document here. So let's start with number one here. It says the ability to roll the tongue is dominant over the inability. So big T would be tongue rolling, small t is not tongue rolling. We've got two heterozygous tongue rollers, which means the parents are big T, little t, big T, little t. Heterozygous meaning two different. Okay, they have children. What are the genotype, phenotype possibilities? Let's do a Punnett square. Oh, I made myself bigger. Did not want to do that. There we go. Big T, little t, big T, little t. Again, I know this because it says that the parents are heterozygous. So they have one of each. So they could get big T, big T, big T, little t, big T, little t, or little t, little t. So those are my outcome possibilities. So these guys, when they cross, they'll give you either did it go? Okay, there it goes. So they could get big T, little t. They could get big T, or they could get little t, little t. Okay, those are their genotypes. Now, what are their phenotypes? They could get tongue roller, they could get tongue roller, or they could get non-tongue roller. Okay, so if the question was, what are the odds that their offspring will not be able to roll the tongue? Let's go to the second part here. If a non-tongue roller has children with a homozygous tongue roller, so now we've got big T, homozygous tongue roller, and then we've got a non-tongue roller, so they're going to cross with a little t, little t. What are the children going to be like? Possibly. Let's square it up here. Sorry, that's not really a square. I don't know why it's freezing so much today. We got big T, little, little, big and little, big and little, big and little. And believe it or not, it's going to be big and little. So there's only one possible outcome. Their offspring are all going to be, no matter what, big T, little t. That's their genotype. What are their offspring's phenotype going to be? They're all going to be tongue rollers. So even though the one parent here could not roll the tongue, all of their offspring will be able to. It's impossible for them to not unless some sort of mutation happens. All right, let's go to 2 here. If black mice are dominant over white mice, predict the genotype and phenotype between a purebred black and a purebred white. So let's see. I'm going to use B's for this. So big B is black. We know that black is dominant. If it's purebred, that means that it's homozygous. So one parent is big B, big B. And then we know that the other parent is purebred as well, but they're white, which means they're going to be little b, little b. And this is exactly the same as this one that we just did up here. Look at this. It was one parent was big T, big T. One was little t, little t. So it's literally the same thing. In the interest of time, I'm not going to redo that Punnett square. But what can we get? We're going to get only big B, little b's. And then all of the offspring are going to have black fur here, okay? Because they're all going to have that dominant trait. So hopefully that one makes sense. It's literally the same question as the one above, just with mice instead. All right, if brown eyes are dominant over blue eyes and huskies, predict the genotype and phenotype of a cross between two heterozygous brown-eyed huskies. So what are the parents going to be? Brown is dominant. I'm going to stick with B here. So they're heterozygous, which means they've got one of each. So both parents are going to be big B, little b. Let me double check, make sure that's correct. Looks good to me. Okay, let's go ahead and do our Punnett square. Both are going to be big B, little b. Go ahead and fill it in. Do. And little b, little b. It's freezing so much. There it goes. Hopefully it's not freezing when you watch this, but it is freezing for me. We could get a big B, little b, and then we could get a little b, little b. Maybe I'll wipe the document here. Maybe that'll help. So let's see, predict the genotype and phenotype. So we've got our genotypes here. Looks like 2 are going to have brown eyes. 1 is going to be blue. And then phenotype. Oh, I just said phenotype. Sorry. So here's your genotypes. There's your phenotypes. So you've got a 1, 2, 3 out of 4 chance of getting the brown eyes. And you got a 1 out of 4 chance right there of getting the blue eyes. Maybe my computer's just messing up. Let me clear all this and hopefully that helps. All right, we're going to go to number 4. One cat is big S, little s, and its mate is little s, little s. Punnett square to determine the probability of the offspring. We've got big S. That's much better. Little s, and they're crossing with little and little. Let's go ahead and do our square. Big S, little and little. So I've got big little, little, big little, and little. So what are my outcomes? I guess I put my Punnett square in the wrong spot here. So I could get big S, small s, or I could get small s, small s. Okay, so genotype wise, those are my outcome possibilities. It's a 50-50 shot either way. And then my phenotypes, let's see, one cat for long-haired and short-haired. So it looks like you got a 50-50 shot of either being short-haired or long-haired if you are a cat in this scenario. I'm going to just go ahead and keep clearing that, and hopefully that keeps it from freezing some more. Okay, if red roses are dominant over white roses, predict the genotype and phenotype between a purebred red and purebred white. This is literally the same question as the mouse one above. Don't let the terminology throw you off. It's really simple. If I'm purebred red, call it big R. Then I'm going to be 2 big R's. And if I'm purebred white, I'm going to be little r. Do my square over here. Again, if I were doing this, if I were you, I wouldn't do this. I'd go right up to the mouse one and I'd copy whatever I got there, but make it R's instead. A lot of these questions are just kind of repeats if you pay attention to them. So you could get big R, little r, big R, little r. You could get big R, little r, or you could get big R, little r. So these parents, their only offspring outcome is right there, big R, little r, which means that all the roses are going to be, I'm frozen again, I think. That means all the roses are going to be what color? They're going to be red. But they still have that white gene kind of hidden in there. All right, so let's go to number 6. Oh, can't scroll with the eraser. In humans, brown eyes are dominant over blue eyes. Suppose a blue-eyed man marries a brown-eyed woman whose father was blue eyes. What proportion of their children would be expected to have blue eyes? Now, this is a thinker. What do we know easily right off the bat here? We know that a blue-eyed man has to be little b, because that's the recessive trait. If he's blue-eyed, he's got to have 2 little b's. Now, why do we care about the woman's father? Okay, she's a brown-eyed woman, but her father was blue eyes. Okay, why does that matter? Well, we know that her dad had to be little b as well. Okay, and then when he crossed with the mom, we don't know what the mom of this man's wife was. We know that all the squares in our Punnett square are going to at least get a little b. So regardless of what the mom is, we know that the daughter here, the woman in the question, is carrying at least 1 little b because her dad guaranteed to pass 1 little b on. Okay. Now we know she's brown-eyed, which means that she's got to be what genotype? She's going to be big B, little b. She got that. Sorry, that looks like a 6. She got that little b from her dad, who was blue eyes. Okay. So that's why that little piece of information is important. Now we can do our Punnett square. And we're going to do little b, and then big B, little b. So big, little, big and little, little, and little. Okay, so this is a case of 50% again. Their offspring are either going to be big B, or little b. They got a 50-50 shot at being brown-eyed or blue-eyed, okay? Now, you notice none of them are going to be big B. It's not possible because the man with the blue eyes, he's guaranteed to pass on. So this is basically exactly like what happened the previous generation that made this woman here. Because one of them has 2 little b's, it's guaranteed that the offspring are going to have 2 little b's as well. So there's a little connection you can make between generations. Let's go to 7. Brown-eyed man whose father was brown-eyed. Okay, so brown-eyed man, father was brown-eyed, whose mother was blue-eyed, married a blue-eyed woman whose father and mother were both brown-eyed. Whew. Okay. The couple have a blue-eyed son. For which of the individuals can you be sure of the genotypes? This is a pickle. Okay, let's think about it. We've got a brown-eyed man, so we know he's got at least one big B. I'm going to call him man. Okay, so man has at least one big B, we know. Okay, his father was brown-eyed, so we know, we'll go up here, call him father. We know that father at least has one big B, and mother was blue-eyed. So mother, we know that she was, not big B, sorry. If she's blue-eyed, she's 2 little b's, okay? Now, he marries a blue-eyed woman. So we've got we're going to call her woman over here. And we know she's blue-eyed, so she's got to be little b. Where are we? Married a blue-eyed woman whose father and mother were both brown-eyed, okay? So now her father, both brown-eyed. We know he's got a big B. And we know mother has a big B as well. Oh dear, that's the ugliest B. Let me just go ahead and scratch that out. Okay, now this is what we know for sure, but we can come up with a little bit more. Now, when they have an offspring, he is blue-eyed. So he's got to be little b, right? Now, let's think about this. Woman is guaranteed to be little b, okay? Now, if they're going to have a son who's blue-eyed, if this man here is big B, what does that do to all the squares in a Punnett square? That's going to put a big B in each one, and that's going to guarantee that they cannot have a blue-eyed offspring, okay? So if man right here was big B, it wouldn't work. There's no way they could have a blue-eyed offspring, and he would have to be like, I'm not your father, like you're adopted, or something even more mischievous happened. So we know for a fact that man has to be big B, little b. He has to, okay? Otherwise, there's no way they could have a blue-eyed offspring, okay? Now, which of the individuals can you be sure of the genotypes? We can be sure of this. We can be sure of that. Now, let's think about woman here. If father had brown eyes and mother had brown eyes, I think I'm frozen again. There we go. Okay. So if father and mother both have brown eyes, we know they both have a big B, but in order for them to have a blue-eyed offspring, we need the same thing to be true as for man and woman here. So mother and father for the woman have to both be big B, little b. Otherwise, if one of them is big B, they are not having a blue-eyed offspring. It's not possible, okay? All right. Now, let's go back over here because the only one we don't know is the man's father. Can he be big B, big B? Can he be big B, little b? Okay. We know he's got to have a big B because he's brown eyes. Can we make a conclusion on what that other allele is? I'm going to let you think about it for a second. Maybe pause if you have to. Okay. There is no way for us to know. Father could be big B, little b. He could be big B, big B. And either way, it's possible for him to produce an offspring that's big B, little b. So we can be sure about man and his mother, and we can be sure about woman and both of her parents, but we don't know necessarily about the man's father. There's not really a way for us to tell unless we got him DNA tested. So that's where we get stuck here. But that's a really good question. It's really tough. Hopefully that made sense. Let's go to number 8 here. Heterozygous round seed, which is big R, little r's, crossed with homozygous round seed, big R, big R. What percentage of the offspring will be homozygous dominant? So I'm just going to jump right into the Punnett square. I don't think you need me to set them up anymore like I have been. We're going to put big R, big R, little r, and then we're going to put big R, big R. Let's go ahead and fill this thing out. All right, there we go. So what percentage of the offspring will be homozygous dominant or 2 big R's? We've got 2 out of 4, and that is 50%. That one's pretty easy. Hopefully that made sense. Number 9, homozygous round-seeded plant is crossed with a homozygous wrinkled. I'm mega frozen now. There we go. Okay. Hopefully this video is working. It's going to make me sad if it doesn't. Okay, homozygous round seed. Homozygous, 2 of the same, and that's round, so he's going to be big R, big R. And then we've got homozygous wrinkled, small r, small r. Did we not just do the same thing up above? We did not. We had a big R, small r. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill out our Punnett square. This is going to be depressing if it's not working. It's freezing so much. All right, big R, and small r. I bet you already know what's going to happen here. They are all going to be the same. Okay, what are the genotypes of the parents? We just did that here. These guys are crossing. And what percentage of the offspring will also be homozygous? It is 0%. You cannot get a homozygous offspring if you've got homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive. You're going to get a whole bunch of big R, small r's here. So not possible. Let's go to 10. Codominant. Okay, be careful here. Don't get silly because it says codominant. We've got pea plants. Purple flowers are codominant to white flowers. If 2 white flowered plants are crossed, what percentage of their offspring will be white flowered? Well, what's a white flowered plant look like? It's got to be WW crossing with W and W. Anytime now. Did we? Okay. I didn't finish my W though. W and W. Okay. If they're white flowers, they're both going to be WW. And so what's the percentage of their offspring will be white? It is going to be 100%. Can't get a purple if there's no purple allele in there. It's not going to happen. Second part here, a white flowered plant is crossed with a plant that's heterozygous. So we've got WW and we've got WP. Let's go ahead and do a Punnett square for this. WW. Excuse me. Oh, not R. Thinking about wrinkled seeds. So we've got WW, WW, WP, and WP. What's the question here? What percentage of the offspring will have purple flowers? What do you think? This is an interesting one. It's going to be 0%. Nobody's going to have strictly purple flowers. We've got 50% of them are going to have purple and white flowers, but none of them are going to be purple. 100% purple, I guess that is. 2 plants are crossed that are both heterozygous, So that means they're both going to be WP and WP. Let's do that Punnett square, and I bet we're going to get some more interesting answers here. WW, WP, WP, and P, and P. What percentage of the offspring will have purple flowers? It's going to be 25%. Okay, 1 out of 4. And then what percentage will have white flowers? It's also going to be 25%. Okay, it's not asking what percent are going to have a white flower allele in them. It's saying which flowers are going to be white. You're only going to get 1 out of 4 that are going to be strictly white, 1 out of 4 that are going to be strictly purple. Okay, so be careful with the wording there. All right, in certain dogs, deafness is due to a recessive allele small d of a particular gene, and normal is due to a dominant of big D. What percentage of the offspring of a normal heterozygous dog and a deaf dog would be expected to have normal hearing? It gives us the alleles there. Let's go ahead and plug them in. So we got big D, and then little. So big and little, big and little, and then little. What percentage would be expected to have normal hearing? Normal hearing is going to be 1, 2 out of 4. So we're going to get 50% chance of having normal hearing. Homozygous deaf dog and homozygous normal. Let me clear this. So homozygous deaf is going to be little d. And then homozygous normal is going to be big and big. So homozygous deaf, homozygous normal. What are we going to get? It's a mystery. We may never know. They're all going to be the same. So what percentage would be expected to have normal hearing? It's going to be 100%. All of them are going to have that dominant trait right there. So all of them should be normal hearing. Let's go to number 12. In question 1, you learned about the alleles for tongue rolling. In the following family tree, some members can roll their tongue and some cannot. Recall that rolling big T is dominant and non-rolling little t is recessive. Complete the diagram to show the missing genotypes and phenotypes. All right, so we've got grandfather here, who's a roller, big T, little t. We've got grandmother, who is a roller, but we don't know her genotype, but we do know she's got to have at least one big T. So she could be big T. She could be little t, or I'm sorry, big T, little t. Now, we know father here is a non-roller. That's a guarantee that he is little t, because if he had a big T, he would not be a non-roller. He would be a roller. Now, what does that tell us about grandmother? That gives us a big hint, okay? In order to have an offspring that's homozygous recessive, if grandfather only has one little t, there's got to be a little t coming from somewhere else, and it's grandmother. So we know that she's going to be big T, little t. All right, we're going down the chain here. So mother marries into the family. She's big T. We know that father's little. So we've got son and daughter, and we don't know anything about them. So let's go ahead and Punnett square this thing up. I already know what it's going to look like, but I want to show you in case you don't see it yet. If there's big T, and little t, guess what everybody is going to look like? Oop, that's supposed to be a little t. They're all going to be big T and little t, okay? There's no other possible outcome. If one parent's big T, the other's little t, all the kids are going to be the same in terms of tongue rolling. So are they rollers or not? We don't know. Or I guess we haven't answered yet. They're all rollers, right? They've all got the dominant trait. So these guys are both going to tongue roll. I cannot. Let me try. Maybe a little bit better than normal. I've never been able to. I can't remember. A lot of my family members can, but I don't remember. I know my mom can. I don't know if my dad can, but that's something that you guys can look at too. Who can roll their tongue in your family? Name 2 individuals who have the same phenotype, but different. Oh, I should not have erased that. Rats. 2 individuals who have the same phenotype, but different genotypes. Well, we remember Crap. No, grandmother was what? Big T, little t. And we know that father's a non-roller, so he's little t, little t. And then we know these guys are big T, little t. Sorry, my computer's bouncing while I write. Okay, so who's got the same phenotype but different genotype? Let's see. We'll go with a roller and a non-roller. So same phenotype, different genotype. Okay, so grandmother and mother would be, they're both rollers, but one's big T, little t, and one's big T, big T. Name a person who is homozygous for the dominant trait. Who's homozygous for the dominant trait? That would be mother right there. And then who's homozygous for the recessive trait? That is going to be father. All right. We're going to go down to the last one. Let me erase everything. Sorry, this is going to be a long video, and I've already tried to upload it today, and it's not working, and I'm freezing a bunch. So hopefully we're all right, but let me know if none of this makes sense. All living things have pedigrees. A pedigree is a diagram that shows the occurrence and appearance phenotype of a particular genetic trait as it is passed from one generation to the next in a given family. From this information, along with an understanding of inheritance, genotypes of individuals can often be determined. Examine each pedigree and determine if the trait being tracked is dominant or recessive, and be sure to state your reasoning. It would be great if you pulled up, and I know it was a while ago, but we had that list of criteria to determine whether a trait is dominant or recessive, okay? So if you've got that list, I'd pull that back up. You should have access to it, and then look at what those criteria are before you've answered this one. Okay, so the first question is the trait dominant or recessive, and how do you know? Good question. I'm off the top of my head, I'm thinking of that list. I know that if either the generation 1 people are affected by it, then that means it's probably going to be dominant. And I see that it's appearing in every generation, which I remember that is also a telltale sign that it's dominant. So I'm confident in saying this is a dominant trait because of those two reasons that I just gave you there. It appears in every generation, and one of the individuals in the first generation are affected by it. Okay, second question is, what's the relationship between person 1-1 and 2-3? So 1-1 is a male, and 2-3 is also a male, and it looks like 2-3 came from 1-1, so that means that this is dad, and then that is going to be son right there. Okay, so that would be father and son relationship. Is the trait being tracked down? Oh, we're in a separate one here. Sorry. Number 2, is the trait being tracked dominant or recessive? And how do you know? Again, looking at that criteria, it would be great to have that list up. I know right off the top of my head, I see something that indicates to me that this is recessive. Okay, and how do I know that? Because no individuals in generation 2 are affected. Okay, we've got some carriers, but no one in generation 2 is affected, which means that this disease or trait or whatever it is has skipped a generation. And when it skips a generation, that tells us that it is recessive. Now, what are the genotypes for the original parents? In order to be affected by it, I thought I had my pen up. Now I'm grabbing things. Sorry. Let's get the pen back. Okay, in order to be affected in a recessive trait, we'll call it T again. This person has to be little t, little t. So we would say they're not numbered, but it would be I-1 equals little t, little t. Okay. Now, you notice here that this person is not a carrier and they are not affected. Okay. So what does that tell us about I2 or 1-2, I guess? That means that that person has to be what? Big T, big T. If they were big T, little t, they'd be shaded in. They'd be affected, or I'm sorry, they'd be a carrier, but not affected. If they were affected, if they were little t, they'd be shaded in completely. Okay. So that tells us that person number 2 in generation 1 is not affected, which means they both have the dominant trait. Now, how did I know about dominant versus recessive for the original people? Remember, we determined in question 2 right here that this is recessive because it skips that generation right there. So if we know it's recessive and this person's affected, we know they have little t. And if this person's not affected, not a carrier, they don't have a single little t. Okay. Now, if you think about Punnett square wise, this makes sense down here that nobody in this generation is going to be little t because this person too is providing a big T to all the squares in the Punnett square. If you were to do the Punnett square, all of their children would have a big T guaranteed because of that person. Okay. So that's another indicator that it's recessive. All right, that's going to do it for this worksheet. The exam, or I guess unit test, is going to be live tomorrow. There's practice up there on quizzes. Reach out to me. I know this was a whole bunch of problems. Hopefully you got them all right. Let me know if anything doesn't make sense. I'll try to help you out before the test. Hopefully this video uploads and all the freezing and pausing does not bother you. I'll talk to you guys later. See you.